Now I want you to lean in close, because what I'm about to tell you is not for the faint of heart. This is for the woman who has cried herself to sleep more nights than she can count. This is for the woman who wakes up and still has to put on her armor, even when she's tired of fighting. This is for the woman who has been misunderstood, underestimated, and sometimes even forgotten. But deep down, she knows God has not overlooked her. You see, when God has something extraordinary in mind, He often begins with a storm. When He's about to use you in a way that shakes hell's gates, He will first take you through a season that tests every fiber of your faith. The question is not if you will face battles. The question is, do you understand why? Because if you can grasp the reason behind the struggle, you will never see your pain the same way again. So don't you dare tune out. Don't you dare walk away. Because by the time we're done, you're going to see your hardest battles for what they really are. Proof that God has trusted you with something powerful. When God chooses His vessels, He doesn't go shopping for the ones who look the part on the outside. He's not impressed by who's got the most followers, the perfect resume, or the applause of the crowd. No, God looks for something much deeper. He looks for a heart that can carry His assignment even when the assignment is heavy. And when He finds that heart, He doesn't shield it from every challenge. He entrusts it with a battle. That's why you can't measure your value by how easy your life is. In fact, the more God plans to do through you, the less likely you are to have a comfortable, predictable journey. Think about it. The military doesn't send its strongest soldiers to sit behind a desk. They send them to the front lines because they can handle the heat of the fight. The same is true in the kingdom. When you are one of God's strongest women, it means you've got the spiritual muscle to stand in places others would collapse. It means God knows you can take the weight and still keep walking. That's not punishment, that's trust. That's an honor, even when it doesn't feel like it. Some of you have been asking God, why me? Why does it seem like I have to fight harder than everybody else? Why can't I get a break? But what if the reason you haven't gotten a break is because you're not on a break-level mission? What if the size of your storm is directly tied to the size of your assignment? See, the enemy isn't going to waste resources attacking someone who poses no threat. The intensity of your battle is often a clue to the magnitude of your calling. Now, here's where it gets real. God doesn't pick you because you're already perfect. He picks you knowing you will have moments of weakness, knowing you will question yourself, knowing you will cry, knowing you will want to give up. But He also knows that when you're down, you won't stay there. He knows that when the dust settles, you'll still be standing, and not only standing, but stronger than before. That's the mark of His strongest vessels. They may bend, but they don't break. The problem is we sometimes misinterpret the battle as rejection. We think if God really loved me, He wouldn't let this happen. But that's not how His love works. God's love is not proven by the absence of trouble. It's proven by His presence in the trouble. And the fact that He walks you through what others can't survive is evidence of how much He has invested in you. He's building something eternal in you, not just a momentary blessing, but a legacy that will outlive you. And I know, sometimes it feels like too much. You're carrying family issues, financial strain, health concerns, emotional wounds, and still trying to hold up everybody else. But here's what I need you to hear. God saw every one of those weights before they ever touched your life, and He still said she can handle it. Not because you're strong in your own power, but because He has placed His strength in you. The same God who chose Esther to stand before a king, who chose Deborah to lead an army, who chose Mary to carry the Savior, is the same God who looked at your life and said, "This one is mine, and I can trust her with this battle." See, when God entrusts you with a hard assignment, it's not just about you. There are lives connected to your obedience, people you haven't even met yet who are depending on your victory. If you give up, they lose hope. If you keep going, they find the courage to stand in their own storms. That's why your battle is bigger than you. It's kingdom business. So stop comparing your path to someone else's. Stop thinking you're cursed because you face more than they do. Some people are living easy because they're not carrying much. You, on the other hand, are carrying the weight of an assignment that stretches far beyond your own lifetime. And God is trusting you to steward it well. You may feel weary right now, but don't confuse weariness with weakness. You are stronger than you think, not because you've got it all together, but because the God who called you is holding you together. And when it's all said and done, you'll look back and realize the very battles you thought would take you out were actually the proof that God had chosen you all along. The battles you face are not random. They are intentional training grounds. God never wastes a struggle. Every tear you've cried, every night you've stayed up wondering how you'll make it, every time you've been knocked down but somehow found the strength to get back up, that was God building something in you. He's not just trying to get you through life. He's preparing you for a purpose you couldn't handle without this level of strength. See, you don't develop spiritual muscle in comfort. You can't gain endurance on the mountaintop. You gain it in the valley where the air is heavy and the path is rough. That's why some of the strongest women you'll ever meet have also walked through the deepest pain. They didn't get their wisdom from reading about it. They got it from surviving what should have taken them out. They didn't get their courage from watching someone else fight. They got it from standing in the middle of the fire and refusing to bow. God allows the heat of the battle because he knows the fire refines you. It burns away the things you don't need, the fears you thought you'd never conquer, the false identities you picked up along the way. It strips you down until you're left with nothing but him. And when he's all you've got, you realize he's all you need. That's when your faith stops being just a Sunday morning accessory and becomes your lifeline. That's when prayer is no longer a habit, but a heartbeat. And here's the thing. Every battle is custom designed for your growth. God knows exactly which challenges will break the surface of your heart so he can dig deeper. He knows which disappointments will push you closer to his arms. He knows which seasons of waiting will sharpen your patience, which losses will soften your compassion, and which victories will humble your spirit so you give him the glory. Sometimes we think the goal is just to survive the fight, but God's goal is to transform you through the fight. Because when you come out of it, you're not supposed to be the same. You're supposed to be stronger, wiser, more anchored in who you are in him. And you won't get there by walking on easy street. You get there by walking through storms with your eyes fixed on the one who calms them. And let's be honest, the enemy doesn't mind a believer who just goes through the motions. He's not threatened by someone who's comfortable, complacent, and quiet. But a woman who's been through something, a woman who has wrestled in prayer until she saw the breakthrough, a woman who has stared down fear and kept going anyway, that's dangerous to his plans. Because once you've learned to fight and win in the spirit, you're not easily intimidated by his attacks anymore. You know who your God is, and you know who you are in him. Some of you have been in long battles, and you're wondering why it's taking so long. But the length of the fight isn't always a sign of God's absence. Sometimes it's a sign of the depth of what he's doing in you. Deep roots take time to grow. God is not just giving you enough faith to get by for today. He's giving you a foundation that will hold for decades, a testimony that will stand for generations. Think about a tree in a storm. When the wind blows, the tree's roots dig deeper to keep it steady. That's what's happening in your life right now. Every gust of wind, every wave that tries to knock you down is forcing your roots to go deeper into God's word, deeper into his promises, deeper into his presence. And when the storm passes, because it will pass, you'll still be standing stronger than before, with roots so deep that no future storm can pull you out. And here's the beautiful part. The strength you gain in this season isn't just for you. God will use it to shelter others. One day, someone will stand under the shade of your testimony. They'll hear what you went through, see how you came out, and find the courage to keep going in their own fight. They'll realize that if God could do it for you, he can do it for them too. So don't despise the training ground you're in. It may feel like a battlefield now, but it's really a birthplace for your next level. And the same God who's been with you in the fight is the one who will bring you out. Not weaker, not broken, but built for the battles ahead. The greater your calling, the more intense the opposition. That's not just a catchy statement. It's a spiritual reality. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on someone who's sitting on the sidelines. He targets the ones who are a threat to his agenda, the ones carrying something from God that could change lives, break chains, and shift atmospheres. And if you've been wondering why it seems like all of hell has been unleashed against you, it's because your very existence is a problem for the kingdom of darkness. See, the enemy can smell destiny. He can sense when God has placed something powerful inside you, even before you fully see it yourself. That's why some of you were under attack before you even knew who you were in Christ. That's why certain battles started long before you made the decision to live for God. Sure. The enemy saw the seeds God planted in you, and he made it his mission to try to choke them out before they could grow. But here's what he didn't count on. Every attack you've survived has only made you more dangerous. Every time he tried to break you and you got back up, you became a greater threat. Every time he pushed you into a corner and you still praised God, your faith became more unshakable. That's the thing about God's daughters. They may get wounded, but they fight with a resilience that can't be explained in human terms, because they're not fighting in their own strength. They're fighting with the power of the one who already defeated the enemy. And I need you to understand this. The attacks on your life are not random inconveniences. They are strategic moves to keep you from stepping fully into your calling. If the enemy can keep you distracted, discouraged, and doubting yourself, then he can slow you down or stop you from becoming the woman God created you to be. He's not just after your peace, he's after your purpose. He's not just after your joy, he's after the impact you were born to make. That's why you can't afford to treat this like an ordinary fight. This is spiritual warfare. This is why you've got to guard your mind when the enemy starts whispering lies. This is why you've got to keep your prayer life alive when the pressure is on. Because when you understand the true nature of the battle, you stop wasting time fighting people and you start fighting the real enemy behind it all. Some of you think the opposition means you're going the wrong way. But most of the time, it's confirmation you're headed in exactly the right direction. The devil is not going to stand by quietly while you step into your God-given authority. He's not going to politely watch while you break generational curses, win souls, or walk in the power of your calling. No, he's going to come at you with everything he's got. But here's the truth that changes everything. The very fact that he's fighting you this hard is proof that you've already got something worth fighting for. And there's something else you need to know. The attacks aren't just about stopping you now. They're about silencing the generations that will come after you. Because if you rise up and win this battle, you set a new standard for your family line. You become the one who changes the story. You become the one who shows others what victory looks like. That's why he's fighting you so hard. Because you're not just a woman with a battle. You're a woman with a legacy. This is why you can't quit. This is why you can't throw in the towel, even when you feel like you've got nothing left. The battle you're in is not just for your survival. It's for the destiny of everyone connected to you. And God is using even the enemy's attacks to shape you into the kind of warrior who knows how to fight and win. So the next time you feel the pressure, the next time you face an attack that seems too big, I want you to remember this. The enemy fights hardest against those who threaten his plans the most. And if he's fighting you with everything he's got, it's because heaven has placed something inside you that hell can't stop. What you've been through was never meant to stay just with you. God never wastes a battle, and he never lets pain be pointless. Every tear, every sleepless night, every season you thought would break you, it's all being woven into a story that someone else needs to hear. The truth is, your testimony is not just proof of what God can do. It's a lifeline for someone who's drowning right now. See, when you survive what others thought would destroy you, you carry a different kind of authority. You're not speaking from theory anymore. You're speaking from survival. You can look someone in the eye and say, I know what it's like to feel hopeless, but I also know what it's like to watch God come through when there was no way out. And those words hit different because they come from a place of lived truth, not borrowed faith. There's someone out there whose breakthrough is tied to your story. They may never pick up a Bible until they see your life as the evidence of God's power. They may never believe healing is possible until they hear how God healed you. They may never think freedom is attainable until they see that you're walking in it after being chained for years. Your scars, as painful as they are, become roadmaps for others to find their own way to him. That's why the enemy works so hard to keep you silent. If he can convince you to hide your pain, to bury your story, to pretend you've always had it all together, then he can rob someone else of the hope your testimony could give them. But when you open your mouth and tell the truth about what God has brought you through, you snatch that weapon right out of his hand. You turn what the enemy meant for evil into a tool for ministry. And here's what's beautiful. The very things you thought disqualified you are often the very things God uses most powerfully. That season you were ashamed of, that mistake you thought ruined everything, that chapter you wished could be erased. In God's hands, those become the exact points of connection with someone else's heart. People aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for authenticity. They want to know if God can work in real mess, in real pain, in real struggle. And when they see Him do it in you, they start to believe He can do it in them too. You might think, oh, I'm still in my battle. I haven't even reached the other side yet. And that's okay. Sometimes your testimony isn't about a completed victory. It's about faith in progress. People need to see what it looks like to keep walking when the miracle hasn't come yet, to keep praising when the pain hasn't left yet, to keep trusting when the answer hasn't shown up yet. That kind of faith preaches louder than any sermon because it's lived out in real time. And here's the thing. When you tell your story, it's not just for others, it's for you too. Speaking it out reminds you of where you were and how far God has brought you. It strengthens your own faith for whatever battles are ahead. It keeps you from forgetting that even in the worst seasons, you were never alone. Every time you testify, you're not just reliving the pain, you are reliving the presence of God in that pain. So don't underestimate the power of your voice. Don't think your story is too small or too ordinary to matter. Somewhere someone is praying for proof that God is real, and you might be the answer to that prayer. You might be the confirmation they've been begging for. And when you choose to share, you're not just telling them about your God. You're inviting them to experience Him for themselves. The battles you fought, the tears you've cried, the nights you've endured, they were not just for your growth, they were for someone else's survival. You've been through the fire, but you didn't just make it out. You came out carrying something. You came out with a testimony that has the power to break chains, lift heads, and point people straight to the one who held you together when everything else was falling apart. And that's why you can never see your hardest battles as wasted time. They've equipped you, shaped you, and given you a voice that hell can't silence. You are not just a survivor. You are a living, breathing testimony of the faithfulness of God. And as long as you have breath, someone else will be able to live because you dared to tell your story.